All right, hey guys, this is Joe with Multiverse Replicas here. Today I'm doing a little bit of a breakdown of the finishing process on my Green Goblin helmet. So a few of you guys, or a lot of you, have been following the progress of this helmet on my Instagram and Facebook pages and giving me a lot of awesome feedback, so I really appreciate that. But I did want to do this video because I've been getting a ton of questions about the painting process. So I'm going to hopefully give you a nice breakdown of everything from the raw 3D prints to the finished piece that you see in front of you right here. So first and foremost, I got this file from Do 3D. This is their version 2 Green Goblin helmet, which is nicely broken down into a number of different smaller pieces, making it easier to print on your average consumer-sized printer. For reference, I have a Prusa Mark III, so that is what the majority of this was all printed on, with the exception of the teeth, which were printed on my Elegoo Saturn, just because the finish on there tends to be a bit smoother, and figured the teeth would probably be pretty hard to sand. Not like the rest of it was easy to sand, but thought I would at least give myself that one break. So from the raw 3D print, anybody who's familiar with 3D printing knows that it involves a lot of gluing, a lot of sanding, a hell of a lot of sanding, and a lot of filler primer to take it from a 3D print, which might look pretty nice coming off the print bed, but definitely has the opposite of what I would call a smooth surface. Lots of print lines, lots of seams and things like that to fill in. So once you get all of the different pieces glued together, the first thing I would recommend having is this glazing and spot putty from Bondo. So it's a little bit softer or more pliable, I guess, of a version of their regular like auto body filler that you can get. So pretty easy to just take a little bit of this on a finger, spread it over some of those cracks and gaps in between the different separate pieces, and then once it dries, sand it and keep repeating that process until you have completely filled in all of those different little divots and gaps. So that is the first step. And then once I was done filling in all of those gaps, that is when we start the process of priming and sanding a lot more. So for priming, I always like to start with a filler primer. So this one is just from Rust-Oleum. You can get it at most normal stores around you. I think I got this at Meijer, Walmart carries it, Home Depot has it. You can find it pretty much anywhere. But the nice thing about this is really good for filling in a lot of the print lines on the raw 3D print. And that really helps you get the desirable smooth finish on the object. So I probably did like 6 to 7 coats of this, and with a lot of sanding in the middle until I finally got it to the point where I was happy with it. And then from there comes the base coat. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and talk about the finishing colors, and then I'm going to talk about the base coat. So these color shift paint cans from Testers are what I used for the primary colors on the helmet. There's a lot of, well, I shouldn't say there's a lot of different options. There were a few different options as I was searching to try to find the perfect paint to match that kind of chameleon shift between purple and green that the movie prop has. But the problem that I ran into is that most of them were way more expensive than I was looking to spend on just the paint for this helmet. Like, we're talking probably $200, $250 is what I was finding in my searches. So I went to Hobby Lobby to see what they had, and they had these little cans of the Testers Color Shift for about $8 a piece, and a lot of the time you can get them for discounts, and I am very pleased with the color that I got from those cans. I did have to cheat a little bit and use 2 different colors. So one of them is this green copper. That is what I used on the majority of the helmet. And then the other is this purple fog color, which is kind of like a shift between like a teal and a purple. This one I used to do kind of some of the highlighting, because if you look at the movie prop, there's more of a purple tinge to the top, and then to some of the like highlight spots, like the cheekbones, the bridge of the nose, stuff like that. So I just did a little bit of that. Most of it was the grain copper though. So for those two paints, they do sell this color shift base coat. It's a gloss black, but I will tell you that I did not like this gloss black. I actually, and you'll know this if you were following my progress on Instagram, but I actually ended up repainting the helmet completely. Like I got it all the way to the stage of clear coating and then decided that I did not like the way that it looked. I think that most of that is because of this gloss black base coat for the color shift line. And the reason that I didn't like this is because I thought that it went on way too heavy. It was really easy to get a lot of nice runs and drips in the paint, which obviously isn't great because those things are definitely going to show up in the finished product if you don't do a buttload of sanding on them. So the second time when I actually went back and redid it, I actually just used this satin Canyon Black from Rust-Oleum and thought that I was much happier with the finished paint product. So I would recommend skipping the base coat for the color shift, just get the actual colors and use like a satin black from Rust-Oleum or a similar brand to do the base coat. Thought that that was much more satisfying to the eye. And then once I was finished, I went over it all with a 1K gloss clear coat that I just picked up at a local auto parts store. I thought that that gave it a little bit more durable of a finish, because the last thing that I wanted was to get a paint finish that I was happy with and then have it end up getting wrecked by, getting a little scuff on it. So wanted to give it a little bit more protection. The final thing that I will say, and I'm saving this for the end just because it was a part of the process the entire way through, is you are going to want to get yourself a tasty variety of sandpaper. So from start to finish, I think I probably went all the way from, like the 120 to 220-ish grit to really like take down some of the bigger bumps and ridges in the print. But by the end, I had worked all the way up to like 3,000 and 5,000 grit wet sanding sandpaper. And actually, these were something that I discovered very recently, also found at the auto parts store, but this one is 5,000 grit wet sanding, and it's actually like a foamy sponge. It's not even really paper, but I thought that this was really great, especially for this model, because it was really easy to get in the nooks and crannies without risking scuffing the paint finish by like hitting it with a corner or a side of a folded up piece of wet sanding paper. So I really recommend these, but the whole point with bringing up the sandpaper is, again, a good variety. I went all the way from like the mid 100 grit range all the way up to 5,000. And that happened in between each coat of painting. So be prepared to do a lot of sanding, be prepared to take it slow, and if you guys use all of the same stuff, you should be able to achieve a finish very similar to the one that I have here. So I wish you all luck. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to impart whatever wisdom I have from this project to you, and I would love to see your finished Green Goblin helmets popping up. So if you do one and you follow the paints that I used here, tag me in it. I would love to see it. All right, you guys have a good day and happy making.